The intensity is back at Jets training camp. What's going on? Matt O'Leary back with another video to recap a training camp practice. The first day of pads. Exciting times for the New York Jets. So let's hop into it. Justin Fields was a full participant. He was back on Saturday participating in 7-on-7 while he was going at it at 11-on-11s too. So he is fully back in the mix after what appeared to be a injury that was maybe reported as worse than originally was on Thursday. Not blaming the reporters. It just felt like initially the injury was going to be a lot worse. And now just a few days later, he is back to being a full participant. Wanted to give a call out to Mason Taylor, who Justin Fields is starting to build a nice connection with. I'm big on Mason Taylor this year. I think number one, he's going to be a really big factor in the receiving game as a tight end, but also, you know, we'll get into it in a little bit. The rest of this tight end room leaves a little bit to be desired. So Taylor has a really tall task ahead of him. And honestly, I think he can handle it, which is good. And we've seen tight ends have success with Justin Fields in the past. Not that Fields is, someone who really hits, 4,000 passing yards, but you could even go 3,000 passing yards. But we've seen guys like Cole Kmet and Pat Freiermuth have success with Fields as their quarterback. So there's no reason to believe that Mason Taylor can't also. So I was talking about the rest of the tight end room and Jeremy Rucker being one of those guys, probably the de facto tight end 2 right now, but interesting day today. And just a note that I noticed on Saturday that I thought makes sense to bring up in this context. So he was called for a false start. As we know, the referees are out at training camp, which is a good thing. And immediately he was taken out. Good. Some accountability, right? Like, you make a mistake, you get taken out. That's how it goes in training camp. And you learn, hey, I can't do that. Otherwise, I'm not going to get my playing time. On Saturday, I noticed he messed up a drill. He was the first to go in a drill where the receiver or tight ends and running backs were in the drill as well, but it was, a passing drill. Was supposed to run in front of kind of 2 tackling dummies, catch the ball, and then go through the 2 tackling dummies. But Rucker going first ran behind the tackling dummies and was like expecting Fields to throw in between them. And Fields didn't throw the ball, stopped the drill, and it seemed to explain, what happened. And then everyone else in line after him went in front of the tackling dummies, made the catch and ran through. So again, it's not just those 2 specific things with Jeremy Rucker. It's, unfortunately last year was a little disappointing and you're kind of hoping for a strong start to camp and make you feel a little bit more confident about the rest of the tight end room behind Mason Taylor. But through a week and a little bit of training camp so far, don't really have that comfort level right now. On the defensive side of the ball, I thought rookie Malachi Moore had a good day, according to reports. Once the pads went on, not surprised that he was showing off the physicality, had a great pass deflection off of Malachi Corley, and then in addition to that, had a stop for no gain, came down to the line of scrimmage and made a play. He is competing for a starting job at strong safety. We know Andre Sisco is going to be one of the starting safeties. It's Malachi Moore, it's Tony Adams, it's Isaiah Oliver, guys like that who are, fighting for this other starting safety spot. And right now it seems like a strong competition. We'll see who wins the job. I don't really have a prediction, or I don't think anyone really has a leg up right now, but just glad to see that a rookie day 3 pick is coming in and, looks like he at minimum belongs. And not saying belongs in, he's an all-pro right out of the gate, but the guy can play, and if needed to, he can come in and I think potentially start. I thought the punter, McNamara, had a good day also too, according to reports, and it seems like he has the edge in the punting battle right now. With the kickers, Mevis had a better day. So really since the second half of practice on Saturday has the slight edge over Caden Davis. That's one that I wouldn't be surprised goes back and forth, and truly I don't know if we can say declaratively who's winning that job until we get into the preseason games and see them actually, one, kick in games and also do kickoffs and things like that. Now, the big story of the day, the Jets had a live open field tackling drill. That was not seen whatsoever in the Robert Saleh era or for a really long time. This is some old school football shit, and I like it. Bring me the physicality, man. I think this team needs it. They weren't a very good tackling team a year ago, and now's the time to work on that so you don't get halfway through the year and go, oh, geez, we really got to practice our tackling because missed tackles are an issue. Brian Costello, who's covered this team for a long time, here's a quote saying, now they're doing one-on-one pass blocking and rushing as well. I can't remember the last time I saw Jets practice with this much real football. The physicality was out. I love the physicality and the intensity. I really do. I think it's important. Football is a very violent sport, and you can't just, go through the motions and try to, protect your guys. You want to do it safely, obviously, but you can run into trouble, as Aaron Glenn was saying at one point too today, that even if you're trying to keep your guys safe, it's hard to avoid injury. That's just a part of the game. Tyler Johnson was speaking on physicality, especially at the wide receiver position. Here's what he had to say.
I think in order for us to be the best that we can be, we have to be a very physical team, and in the receiver room, we're making sure that, that's a point of emphasis. We want to make sure that each Sunday that we go out there and whatever we put on tape, we're showing that we're the physical wide receiver group. So taking, like I mentioned, blocking a few times today, but that's where it starts. Receivers got to be able to block, got to be ready to block, and when that ball's in the air, you got to make the play.
No block, no rock, right? That was a quote that we heard from Aaron Glenn, and Tyler Johnson brings up the blocking, and I think it's going to be an important part of this team's game. They keep preaching speed and physicality. To me, that's a hard-nosed football team, which, again, was something that I wanted to see the Jets do this year, establish an identity. Unfortunately, I hate to keep picking on Robert Saleh, but they didn't really have a full team identity. Yes, they played good defense in 22 and 23, but there was never, or for a long time, you could even go into the Gase era and pretty much since early Rex Ryan days, the Jets haven't had like a brand of football. And, this smash mouth in your face style worked for them a long time ago in 2009 and 2010, but it feels like the Jets are getting back to that. They're going to be a team that's aggressive, they're going to blitz on defense, and they're going to be a physical run-first football team. Braylon Allen, who has had a strong start to training camp, talked about why he embraced special teams in year one.
Braylon, Aaron was just saying, you're talking about you a little bit and how much you embrace special teams. Where does that come from? A lot of guys, particularly who have a starter role on either side, maybe don't want to play specials. Where does that come from for you?
Well, I think last year I didn't have a choice, so I had to embrace it, and I'm the type of guy that's going to do whatever's asked of me. I mean, if they wanted me to play linebacker, I would. If they wanted me to play fullback, I would. So that's something I've always done. I've played pretty much every position on the field at some point, and I just love football. So special teams, you just either got to block somebody or make a tackle. So that's the essence of football and what I'm all about.
This is just a guy who loves football, man. And as I said, Allen's had a strong start to camp, so wanted to toss that quote in there from him today when he was at the mic. Really excited to see what he does in year two, because year one, I thought he had a great summer, started pretty well, and then kind of tailed off in the second half of the year. Now, to be fair, the whole offense was pretty much shot in the second half of the year. But again, this is someone who I think could have a much bigger role this year than he had a year ago, and I'm ready to see it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on the more physical and intense training camp practice. I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe here if you're new, and I'll catch you next time.